If you want to see the super rich at play, then the Croisette at Cannes on a beautiful summer afternoon is where you need to be. Even by the standards of the wealth that you find here on the French Riviera, the man I'm about to meet is wealthy. His name is Prince Al-Waleed bin Talal bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. The prince is known as the Arab Warren Buffett. He is a nephew of the Saudi king, but the vast bulk of his fortune is, he says, self-made. His company, Kingdom Holdings, has huge shareholdings in a wide range of businesses, including the second largest stake, after Mr. Murdoch himself, in News Corporation, the company that owns Rupert Murdoch's entire global media empire. So we're on our way now to the Prince's yacht, which featured in a James Bond film. Before we meet the man himself, it's worth putting His Royal Highness's shareholding in perspective. Rupert Murdoch owns 12% of News Corporation. Prince Al-Waleed owns 7%, so he's an incredibly powerful voice in the company. What's more, the Prince is far, far richer than Rupert Murdoch. He's reckoned to be worth $20 billion. Rupert Murdoch, by contrast, is worth a relatively modest $7.5 billion. Cheers, thank you very much for having us on board. I met the Prince on an upper deck of his yacht. Indeed, for having us on your boat. Come and sit down over here.
We hope that as this thing unfolds, the truth will come out, because it's very important for me and my company, who are investors in News Corp since 20 years, to get this in order, because ethics to me is very important.
I mean, there's some terribly unethical things have taken place at News Corporation. I mean, awful things like hacking into the telephone of a murdered teenager, hacking into the telephone of relatives of British soldiers who've died in action. I mean, these are awful things.
I'd just like to correct you. The problems happened at the News of the World newspaper and not at News Corp level. And I like to differentiate between News Corp, conglomerate, and the News of the World that was shut down. And unfortunately, that these tactics that were used by those tabloid newspapers in the UK were done not only by News of the World, but by other newspapers and tabloid newspapers also.
But James Murdoch's in an uncomfortable position, isn't he? Because either he knew what was going on and didn't tell the British authorities, in which case he's liable perhaps to a criminal prosecution, or he didn't know, in which case, as a manager, he wasn't in control of his own organisation. I mean, either way, they don't come out looking good.
I think we have to wait for the commission that has been appointed by the Prime Minister and look at the results. Why should we anticipate and predict and preempt what they're going to come up with? The facts are going to come out very imminently and soon, hopefully.
But one of the dangers for you as a major investor in News Corporation is how this contagion from this crisis in the UK has spread. I mean, now you've got calls for a Senate inquiry in the US. There's criticism of Murdoch and News Corporation on newspapers across the entire world. I mean, this is a really serious problem for you as an investor, isn't it?
Well, you know, I hope that this matter doesn't get over-politicized, because clearly some politicians in the UK and the United States right now would like to set the record clear and take revenge from Mr. Murdoch's conglomerate that was not really on their side some time ago. I think this thing should not be over-politicized. I think we should give the Commission its right to investigate the whole process and to come with its findings and to the Prime Minister, and then accordingly we can really see how high this thing went up.
But what do you think as a major shareholder? I mean, you're the second biggest shareholder after Rupert Murdoch himself. I mean, you know, what have you been saying to Rupert Murdoch about what's been happening?
What I say to Mr. Rupert Murdoch and James Murdoch, who are my friends, who are my allies in News Corp and in my company in Saudi Arabia, Rotana, I said to them that you have to cooperate fully, and they are going to fully cooperate with the Commission that has been appointed by the Prime Minister to dig deep and get the truth out, and nothing but the truth. They know exactly my high ethics when it comes to business, and frankly speaking, from my dealings with them, I've witnessed nothing but high ethics in the past 20 years.
You know, the BSkyB was a key part of the strategy for growth of News Corp, wasn't it?
It was a key strategy, but at the end of the day, you have to understand that News Corp is a profitable company even without the remaining 61% of BSkyB. The BSkyB is being shelved right now, but it's not dead forever.
So you think News Corp might come back and make a bid again for BSkyB?
I don't talk on behalf of management. Management is Mr. Rupert Murdoch and James Murdoch. But at the end of the day, this bid has been withdrawn, and based on the law in the UK, the minimum period is to come back is 6 months. And we will have to see what happens after 6 months.
There's been a lot of controversy around one key manager at News International, Rebekah Brooks. Should she stay?
If the indications are for her involvement in this matter is explicit, for sure she has to go. You bet she has to go. Ethics to me is very important, definitely. I will not accept and tolerate to deal with a company that has a lady or a man that has any sliver of doubts on her or her integrity.
Because there are suggestions, of course, that James Murdoch knew what was happening at News International.
Well, again, we'll have to keep this to the Commission.
But if James Murdoch was implicated, if he'd known and didn't do anything about it, would you be saying to Rupert, listen, your son has to go as well?
From my dealings with Mr. James Murdoch and Rupert Murdoch, I think it's almost impossible for James and Rupert to know what's going on at the news of the world level.
Well, hold on. James Murdoch was head of News International.
I know, but it doesn't mean he was explicitly involved in what happened there.